सब्सक्राइब करिए शॉर्ट एंड डिक्टेशंस चैनल को और दबाइए इस बेल आइकन को ताकि आपको मिले लेटेस्ट अपडेट्स। बी रेडी। 5 seconds. Start. We are having this budget in the third year of the third 5-year plan. That is to say, this is the 13th budget under planning. But added to this, the emergency today, which naturally has an impact on the economic policies and in particular on the budget proposals, it is agreed on all hands that resources should be found for the strengthening of our national defense as well as for the country's economic development. I think on the whole, it is a right approach in the situation that national defense and economic development should go hand in hand. Indeed, we cannot have a strong self-reliant defense potential in the country either now or in the future or in any future at all without having a strong economic base, especially industrial base, for without a strong industrial base you cannot have modern defense in the world today. Therefore, on the whole, it is a right approach, and I think we all should stick to this approach instead of trying to counterpoise one against the other. Therefore, on that score, there is not only controversy whatsoever, but there is a ground for controversy when you come to the budget proposals. The tragedy of the present budget is that it heavily penalizes the patriotism of our people. It seems that those who have formulated the budget have taken into their hands that the legitimate sentiments of the people for strengthening the defense of the country, as we all stand for strengthening the defense of the country, could be exploited in a manner which is in a large measure against the interests of the people as well as against the interests of the defense economy. I wish to make it very clear that defense has two sides: weapons and equipment on the one hand, and the human side as well as the labor power of the working people on the other. I think we cannot conceive of a strong defense in conditions of discontent, privatizations, sorrow, and suffering. I think we will have to evolve a policy whereby the resources of the country could be mobilized simultaneously with the harnessing of the willing labor power, enthusiasm, and initiative of our working people. That is how we should approach the problem of defense in a democratic setup. In conditions of military dictatorship, etc., they do not bother about the people. Somehow or other, weapons and equipment are brought from outside and some kind of defense is built up, which means in fact that when you go in for such a thing, you surrender your entire independence, and we are very glad that the Prime Minister has rightly pointed out time and again that in order to defend something, we must have that thing, and defense will be meaningless if we in the name of the preparations for the defense of the country, began to sell our independence at some other counter. Such is not, fortunately, the policy of the government as we understand it, and such can never be the policy of the government. Therefore, there is national agreement on the question of defense and also on the question of economic development, although it has been raised by some people that in order to prepare the country for its defense, we must abandon some of our good objectives in the plan gradually and prune it. But by and large, the government, at least in theory, has not accepted it, and we would also like the government not to accept it in point of fact, because, as I said, no defense worthy of a great independent nations like ours can ever build except on the foundations of a solid growing strong economy. Now, therefore, Madam Deputy Chairman, where does the controversy arise between ourselves and the government? The controversy arises on the question of finding resources, and the question to be asked today is how to set about the task of fulfilling the needs of the situation as a whole and the emergency in particular, and where to find and how to find the resources for the purpose. This is the point of departure as far as we and the government are concerned, and I should presently go into the question of pointing out to you that the government's approach and the line of action is certainly not one which has inescapable or unavoidable in the situation. It was possible for the government to raise the resources without going in for some of the harsh economic burdens which they have decided to impose upon the people. Let me come to the question of the compulsory deposit scheme. Here we have been supporting compulsory deposits. In fact, we have been urging upon the government to introduce some such schemes as would enable them to tax the resources lying with the formal former prices, multi-millionaires, big businessmen, and other sections of the wealthy people. They have got plenty of accumulations. Our quarrel is not with the system of savings scheme as such.